All right. Welcome back to another episode of the E-commerce Revolution podcast. We're coming to you on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to take a minute and subscribe to our channel and stick around to the end for many amazing tips from our guest today, because this topic today is going to be really interesting, one that hopefully you will all take a lot of knowledge away from. Our goal for each and every one of these episodes is to educate and entertain you on all things e-commerce. And as I like to say, e-commerce can definitely be entertaining. My name is Ramin, and it's great to have everybody here today. Let's get things started.
This is just the beginning.
Today's episode is not necessarily one of the sexiest e-commerce topics, but it's definitely one, if not the most important topic in business: financials. As an e-commerce leader without solid financials is like being a captain of a ship without navigation equipment. Financials are not just about making the money, but also knowing what you have, when you have it, and how you can use it to grow your business. As a wise businessman once told me, Ramin, you need to always know your numbers, always. I think he said it maybe 5 or 6 times to me. So this is why I think this topic is so important. Today's guest is the founder of Acuity, one of the leading bookkeeping, virtual CFO, tax and accounting firms with a focus on entrepreneurs and small businesses. Full disclosure, we are a client of Acuity's and we love the service they provide us. So I thought, what better way than to bring somebody from Acuity on to help us explain this wonderful world of finance and accounting. Our guest calls himself an accounting translator, which we'll have to dig into because it actually sounds like a topic for a book or a movie. I really like it a lot. And lastly, not only is he all things accounting and finance, but our guest also owns 11 chickens. 11 chickens, okay? I don't even own one. So we're going to have to dig into that one and learn a little bit more about what's happening there with the chickens. So without any further ado, please welcome Matthew May. Matthew, welcome to the E-commerce Revolution podcast. Great to have you on.
Oh, thanks for having me, and thanks for calling me not very sexy. I appreciate that. That's a good lead in. Lower expectations right off the bat. This is the least sexy guest we've ever had on the show.
I love it. I love it. You should switch to that other camera that you showed me earlier. Maybe we just do the podcast.
You see that I've been working out. It's like you got to do something during COVID. So.
I love it. I knew you'd have me laughing out of the gate. Okay, so that's good. And full disclosures to everybody out there, we both are getting over things. So I'm coughing a little bit, drinking a lot of water, and so is Matthew too. So yes, it's gonna be an interesting one. We won't pause for the coughing, by the way. We may just move our head away from the camera.
Yeah, we're just gonna plow through it, folks. This is gonna be exciting today.
I love it. So where are you calling in from today?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. So beautiful. I'm calling in from my quarantine in the basement because this is my first bout with COVID.
Man!
But luckily, the lovely folks at the CDC and all the Moderna guys, shout out to you guys. I do not feel awful, so good job.
Yes. Good words of wisdom there. And you can't really just walk down the street to the CDC, can you? And get help, right? That doesn't work like that, right?
Well, we can over here in Atlanta. It's really down the street, actually, literally. So,
wow.
But I don't think they take walk-ins, but it's close enough for me to walk over to. So.
Oh, wow. Very, very interesting. All right. Well, before we jump into the business side of things, let's talk about the 11 chickens. What's happening there? Why so many? And do they produce delicious eggs? And is that what they're there for?
They are there for producing a distraction for me during COVID. So I wouldn't work on the house. My wife said, I like to work with my hands on the weekends and fun stuff like that. And she said, and I was like trying to renovate the kitchen. She was like, no, do something outside. So I built a chicken coop.
Wow.
I built it in the side yard to kind of build some community. So like the people with the little kids in the neighborhood could bring them by. So it created this kind of like tourist attraction in the little neighborhood I'm in. So like about 7 or 8 families come by every once in a while during COVID, and they don't have to come through because it's in the side yard the way my neighborhood worked. I live on a dirt road. And so you turn off the paved road and come down to the chicken coop during COVID. But they're egg producing chickens. They're black Australorps,
Oh,
beautiful chickens. They put off
wow.
about 6 to 8 eggs a day now. So it's kind of crazy.
Wow. And they are delicious eggs. Yes, they are really good.
I
Yeah.
can't tell the difference between them and
Oh,
a store-bought egg, but don't tell
wow.
anybody. So
Okay. I won't. I won't. Definitely won't tell the chickens. I'm sure they think they're
yeah.
doing great things. Had you ever built a chicken coop before, or did you go on YouTube and learn real quickly?
I had never built a chicken coop before, done a bunch of home renovations in
Hmm.
previous homes, and got some plans. I modified them kind of for the space
Oh,
and built a cool enclosure. It's a little bit of
I love
it's
it.
fancy chicken coop, man.
I
So
like it. My wife has always mentioned wanting a chicken coop. It's not been high on my list, I'll be honest. But it sounds like really fun, especially if you've got like a tourist attraction now in your in your
yeah,
backyard.
yeah,
Yeah.
we had to, it has its downsides. So
Oh.
it's not without bad things. So we've had the fly incident of
Oh.
2020. Yeah, where if you don't manage the flies well, they can overwhelm a space, and
Oh,
then
wow.
rodents tend to like chicken food
Mm.
too. So, when we first had the chicken coop, my wife made fun because the chickens don't lay for the first like 6 to 8 months of their lives. So we had a rodent count versus an egg count, and
Oh,
the rodent count was much higher for a long
oh.
time.
Yeah. So
So,
you're talking me out of this very quickly, Matthew.
oh,
I'm
don't
just.
worry, I can talk you out of it pretty fast. So,
Oh man. Wow. Okay. Well, that's very, very interesting. I mean, I love the community concept, and then definitely kids. I know my kids would probably love it. It would, bring a lot of excitement and joy. My daughter would probably be out there every day talking to them and
yeah.
coaching them along. So very nice. Very, very
Yeah,
nice.
some of the kids come back on the way from school every day, and one
Oh.
of like our neighbors that's elderly, she walks with her nurse every day and visits it. It's just kind of a fun community thing it's turned into now. So
Oh, that's awesome. Those are the good parts right there. We'll look past the rodents and
and the flies,
then the
yeah.
flies. Yes. Well, let's talk about this accounting translator that you have.
Oh yeah.
You've named yourself. I saw that on your LinkedIn profile and a couple other places. How did this come about? And tell us more about what that actually means. I mean, we all know what the word translation means, but tell me how you perceive it.
Well, it came about because of Twitter, right? I'm the tech CPA on Twitter, and you need a description on Twitter. And back in the
Right.
day, before Twitter added characters, every character mattered.
Hmm.
So I was trying to come up with something condensed, and accounting translator resonated with me because accounting, looking at your books, it's like learning a foreign language.
Hmm.
Like it's a foreign language, and after you unlock it, like
Yeah.
you know another language, and you can speak the language of business to people once you understand the income statement, balance sheet, and some of the core
Hmm.
financial statements. So what I realized I was doing, especially in social media and all the YouTubes that we put out, is doing that translations for people, like helping
Hmm.
people learn that second language. So that's how it came about. And you can thank Twitter for making it brief, but like I thought, like accounting translator for entrepreneurs is about as crisp as I get.
Yeah. No, I love it. And yeah, that's I think, to speak to the, not so sexy side of things, this is probably a big reason why this is an area of business that a lot of entrepreneurs, small businesses, I mean, even big businesses, people who are at the top, are they just, they have somebody, for that side of it, because it doesn't get the love that it needs, because I think a lot of people just don't understand it. There's so much not to understand. Foreign language is an interesting way of putting it. Definitely. Definitely. So, in your best translator voice, what's the main difference between accounting and finance? Because I think there's definitely some confusion around cough number one. By the way, I'm about to do cough number two. All right, we got two in there.
So we started it off.
Yeah.
The best. Wow, what's the difference between accounting and finance?
Yeah.
I've never been asked that question before. That's a great question. So the way we describe something similar for folks is accounting typically is in the past, right?
Hmm.
So accounting is kind of a scorecard for all things historical. When I think of finance, I think of all things future.
Hmm.
So when you think of finance, it's more speculative, it's more planning, it's more budgeting, forecasting, maybe figuring out how your pricing works, figuring out how to pay people, that kind of stuff. So anything kind of strategy related kind of more closely ties with finance to me. So when we talk with people, because we have CFOs and people ask, what's the difference between a CFO and a controller? And a controller handles all your, all your complex accounting, backwards looking needs. That doesn't mean it's simple. It's just backwards looking. And then a CFO deals with most of your finance needs, which is your strategy and your forward looking.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's great. And I think that people should be aware of that. I mean, the past matters because it got you here, and the future absolutely matters because you're trying to put your best foot forward and make sure you know where you're going to invest in your business. So I guess both equally important. Would you put any emphasis on one versus the other, or is it truly both very, very important to the business?
Well, the weird thing is like different people are good at different
Mhm.
ones too. So like if you're
Yeah.
having the same person do both, we found that's not very successful. That's like the oddest thing about it. Everybody thinks, oh, you're a finance accounting kind of person. You can do all these things.
Hmm.
We found that that's actually not true because usually the backwards looking stuff comes with getting in the weeds and the forwards looking stuff requires you to pull out and look at it at 50,000 foot level. So that's one of the notes that we typically give people, and is just be careful of that situation. But the reason we actually launched the bookkeeping accounting practice is because we started our legacy is we started as a finance business as a fractional CFO practice. Well, the fractional CFO is you can't do your job unless you have the underlying needs.
Yeah.
So like if you're building a house, you got to have their accounting in order to do the finance right. Just like
Yeah.
you got to know where things went in some kind of accurate fashion before you can move through that.
Yeah.
So,
No, and that's interesting. I mean, just for the listeners out there, I mean, we hired you guys to do our bookkeeping. We felt, we were referred to by you gurus, and they spoke very highly of you. But then when we utilized your CFO services, it was great because the CFO could easily just jump in, and they know that they had. Accurate books to look at, up-to-date books. So it made that decision-making, that future planning side of things so much better. So, no, I think that's a great thing. And in your side of things, you probably talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of small business owners. What do you think for those that are not, I guess, financially inclined? What do you think the hang up is? Is it just the fear of numbers when it comes to accounting and finance, the lack of knowledge, the need for translation, or is there something else that blocks them from really putting their efforts and emphasis on that side of the business?
I think there is a definite fear of accounting. But one of the weird problems that's happened is technology has gotten so good that you have to spend very little time on your accounting if you're like doing it yourself. So like
Yeah.
most people can, when they're starting off, do it in a half day or a couple hours a month and stuff like that. But the problem is they don't necessarily know how to use the technology and they feel like they have to relearn it every month. So it becomes this huge struggle. So one of the things when we do is we come out and like take that pain away because we have somebody working still only that few hours a month, and then but taking that pain away from people. But we know how to use the software too, and then we can give them the reports they need. The Gartner chart that we found that's most like interesting about it. And sorry not to have a picture for everybody in this, but it basically the Gartner chart you're trying to move up into the right.
Yeah.
You're on this continuum when you're learning how to run your business, and you start like running the bank by your bank balance, right? And then you kind of move up into where you're identifying historical information and actually being able to read your financial statements. And as you progress up, you're like, oh, I understand when I made this decision, I can see the correlation. Then you start predicting what's going to happen. And then so you're trying to move people up that Gartner chart. And it's like, the entrepreneurs I see is like managing from your bank balance, managing from your P&L, starting to identify key performance indicators, and then making database decisions. So you cost, customer acquisition cost, for example, when you're talking about paid search. Oh, some of the people all the way up the chart know if I spend $702, I'm going to get this many leads, and that's going to convert to this many clients, right? So we're trying to push people from, I have a budget in the bank and I can spend money on paid, all the way up to the top corner, which is I kind of know the data.
Hmm.
and I can pull, and I know what levers to pull, and you can kind of predict what's going to happen. So that's our ultimate goal, is to kind of push you through that
Hmm.
transition, or
Hmm.
pull you through that transition sometimes.
Right.
But that
Right.
starts with, building up and understanding some of these core things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I'll just look at our agency and our accounting or our finance and accounting path. And in the early days, I don't know, we had somebody helping us out. Who knows? Probably found them on Upwork. I mean, they were skilled, but I still had doubt about our books. I didn't know if our books were completely accurate. And fast forward to today, and we get our financials from you guys on time every single a month, and we now have it locked in as an executive meeting order to actually review those, rather than say, yeah, we know they're there, let's whatever, I'm sure they're fine. What does the bank look like? That's more. But looking at the financials and then bringing in that CFO component and being able to make these accurate decisions, and you talk about customer acquisition costs, things like that. I mean, so important. But I guess it all starts with good books, a clear understanding of how it all how it all starts, how it gets put together. So not sexy, but man, important, so
Yeah.
important to the business. So just you slightly answered this part of it. If you're going to make accounting easier for people, is it what is it that makes it easier? Is it the knowledge that they need? Is it the software that they need?
Yeah.
What's the ultimate?
Well, my philosophy on this is we only create process like that help you make better business decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you start at compliance. So when we start people at compliance, what I mean by that is most of us, don't need to do full audited financial statements like public company. Most of us need to fill out a tax return at the end of the day. Like we have to fill out a tax return and we have to make business decisions. Those are the two things we need from our financials. So what most people don't realize, you have to capture all of like 10 line items for a tax return. You ever looked at the first page of a tax return? There's like 10 things and most of them don't apply to you. So there's like 6 you really have to do. So if you look at most people's profit and loss statement, it's pages and pages. So the first thing I try to get people to do is simplify. It's just like, okay, let's get to one page so you can look at it and figure that out. And then I help them make like easy business rules. The biggest mistake we see people make is combining business and personal expenses. So like the first thing we ask people to do is set up a separate business account for bank and for credit card, right? So you have a separate business account for your bank, for business and personal, credit card, business and personal. Whether or not it says your company's name on it doesn't matter for the credit card. But that way, like anytime at the point of sale, you're deciding whether it's a personal expense or a business expense. Like that exercise of keeping receipts and stuff like that, that's the silly exercise. That just creates terrible headspace. Decided at the point of sale with their credit card. And that so simple rules like that, business rules, business tips, if you can give entrepreneurs those, they're like, that makes sense. I understand that. I can use that. They literally follow that separation of business and personal. Any accountant can help you. Any accountant can help you in a simple way. So
yeah, that's great. So it's like when I'm at Costco and I do 2 separate orders, the business order, using the business credit card, and then, all the stuff, for personal, less so these days because we don't have, dedicated offices as much, but, back in the day, definitely, we'd always try to keep that separation, in there. And I mean, that's an interesting, a very simple, distinction, but one that I truly do find a lot of people don't know that. Like, set that business account up, especially maybe somebody who's going into business for the first time, right? This is their first, maybe they've worked corporate forever and now they're just doing it and they think, oh, I don't know, it's a bank account. What does it matter? It's all the same. So,
well, the credit card is a bigger deal because, you when you're getting started, like, just pick one credit card and only use it for business. Like everybody, it's not that hard to have 2 credit cards in your wallet. Like it's just not.
Yeah. No,
but then you don't have to do an expense report at the end of the time because all these technologies pull that data straight in.
Take care of it.
Your accountant can take care of it. Like it's great. So
no, I love that. So let's just ask about we're talking kind of business in general. You mentioned, customer acquisition that, relates a lot to the e-commerce space. But, for e-commerce business leaders, what specific accounting and finance nuances do they need to be aware of that are maybe different from the general side of things?
Yeah, two huge ones.
Mhm.
You're just tend to deal with a ton more data than everybody, from
Mm,
Shopify to Amazon, and they all have their quirks, and getting good data
mhm,
out of them is incredibly difficult. We
mhm,
searched long and hard for a technology partner to help us with that. So like if the one we found is called A2X accounting, so
mhm,
they bridge the gap between all your marketplaces and your books and records and get it in a format that you want. So that's number one, is just the data problem that you have with the sources. To get clean data is just a pain. It's just a
mhm,
big data problem. The second one is you guys are on the leading edge of the sales tax problems.
mhm,
So like making sure you have a good sales tax solution is
mhm.
like a huge priority. That's not going to be that's not going to be a smaller problem over time.
Right.
States are broke, right? They're coming after people, and e-commerce is who they're going after first.
Mm,
There's a couple people coming next. The SaaS people are next probably. So like,
mhm,
e-com unfortunately is the tip of the spear. So making sure you have a great system intermediary between your marketplaces and your
mhm,
accounting records like A2X, and making sure you have a great solution to your sales tax.
mhm.
Top two things we do in onboarding.
That's great, and yeah, I mean these are phenomenal for multi-channel or omni-channel retailers out there that are putting themselves out there on Amazon. They've got their Shopify store. They're dabbling in all these different places. Maybe they maybe have brick and mortar as well on top of it. No,
Hmm.
that's very important to remember that, and that's a great resource as well to being able to pull all that out there. Because yeah, the data's not good. I mean, how can anything else be good?
Right.
How can you get those numbers to be good? And now a word from SKU Agency.
So, I have a question for you. Is your online store generating at least 30% of its revenue from email and SMS marketing? Here at SKU Agency, we have a strategic solution for that. As Klaviyo advisors, we've helped our clients generate millions in revenue from email and SMS alone. Combining the power of both of these channels is key to really reaching your customers and the overall success of your e-commerce business. But to help you better understand the value of email and SMS working together, we decided to offer a limited time, complimentary 45-point audit that will break down that opportunity for you. To get your free audit, go to skuagency.com and click the Book a Call button to get started. Now back to the show.
So that's very interesting. I mean, to look at these different industries, and obviously our clients are e-commerce merchants and e-commerce businesses, and they need to understand that, and most likely most of our audience, they're coming in to understand the marketing side of it, maybe ignoring the financial side, but to know that those nuances, what they are and what they need to pay attention to. And listen, if you can't, if you're not feeling it, hire somebody, hire Acuity, come hire anybody who can get you to that place where you're not afraid to look at your numbers, or at least ask educated questions about your numbers, so you can make better decisions now and into the future, so you're still standing 10 years from now. So I think that's huge implications on that. So let's chat about Acuity a little bit. I'm very curious.
Sure.
We obviously did our research on you guys when we decided to come on board, and you liked everything, and we got great recommendations for what you guys are doing, and everything has been phenomenal so far. But tell us just a little bit about the business and how it got started. You mentioned fractional CFO was kind of the beginning of it all. How did it get to this place that it is now?
Yeah, my co-founder Kenji, he and a second person, his name's Stuart, started Acuity back in 2004 as a fractional CFO practice, and
Hmm.
they went the first 9 years, and they had about 10 folks, and they had a group of CFOs and a higher level accountants, which we call controllers, and they had about 10 folks for the first 9 years of existence. I was in public accounting at the time and worked with these guys. I did audits for people, but in 2013, Stuart was leaving the business. I came in and functionally bought out Stuart, and we pivoted the business a little bit when we decided this data problem that we talked about was getting bigger, not smaller. So we launched a bookkeeping offering to get the tactical information into the hands of the controllers and CFOs. So making sure the credit cards and the banks talk to the software and get coded in a timely basis so you can get your financials on the right day, right? So there's not a big cleanup effort going on. So we built this whole team over that. And that helped us scale and kind of build up all the teams. So we put that plan in place and kind of grew over the last 9 years. Today, we're about 150 people. We're able to do the back office for about 750, companies.
Wow.
And last year, we did a merger with Catching Clouds, which is who we saw as the premier e-commerce accountants in the United States. So we merged with them so we could serve the e-commerce industry. Acuity historically had just served the tech space and SaaS, and we had two primary verticals historically: the technology space and marketing and creative agencies. So that's why the U-Gurus folks have been so great with us over the years. So then adding that practice allowed us into the third vertical, which is e-commerce, and we're lucky enough to serve some great e-commerce platforms now. We have a fourth vertical that's emerging, is cryptocurrency. So more and more people have to deal with it.
Yeah.
A bunch of the firms are just ducking, and we decided we're going to embrace it. So we're helping people who want to do that correctly.
Yeah.
So those are the four kind of types of clients we deal with. I do recommend, if anybody is looking for accountants out there, e-commerce accountants, make sure they say they specialize in e-commerce accounting, because there's a half a dozen great ones in the United States, and the ones that aren't usually don't put e-com on their website. So don't force a round peg into a square hole. But there's about 6 really good options in the U.S. for e-commerce accounting. So
it's interesting. Back in the day, I'll date myself here. When I started my e-commerce business early on, in the early 2000s, there was really nobody who specialized in this. You could go get an accountant or a bookkeeper, and you'd be amazed at how many would look and say, "Oh, merchant processing statement. What is going on there?" And then how do I work with that? Do I need to reconcile? What do I need to do with this thing? Because, it was early on in the industry, but great to know that there are options out there, and definitely that you guys are very focused in that particular area. Because it's growing fast, and it is, when things grow fast, they need help. Industries absolutely need help. Tell me, just in terms of the next 5. You mentioned cryptocurrency. You guys are kind of leaning into that part of it as well. What does Acuity look like in 5 to 10 years?
I don't see us really going into other verticals very aggressively. We really enjoy the entrepreneurs that we work with. We like working with really progressive entrepreneurs. I think where people are going to see change is we're doing a ton behind the scenes, so nobody will care, in the no code, and then in the next 5 years getting into robot process automation, RPA, so that we are able to sustain some of the cost structures that people have gotten used to, and to make all of these kind of accounting solutions, available to more folks in each of these industries. So I think that's the biggest change we'll see on the back end. I don't think any of the clients will notice it very much, but data is getting to be a bigger deal, not a smaller deal. So.
Yeah, you saw that early on when you came into the firm and bought into it, and then made that pivot. Data was an issue then, and now even more so than ever.
It's a different data issue, and it's a data issue at scale, right? With 750 clients that we have to make sure we're, every month everybody has a date that they're supposed to get their financials, and that's got to be on a regular schedule, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's very interesting. And by the way, I mentioned this at the top of the podcast before we were recording. I love your podcast, Drink While You Think, and we'll put a link to it in the show notes. And you guys cover everything. You cover all the different topics. You have fun with it.
Yep.
You bring in a new brew each week, and what I found interesting in one of the episodes is that in the growth period of Acuity, and this is kind of very interesting in just in general and what's going on in business, that you guys your real estate footprint decreased as your headcount increased. You really put a conscious effort in. You know what? We don't need that massive, we don't need that tall building. We don't need those 5 floors. We need smart people, right? And they could be anywhere, right? Very
Right.
interesting.
And now we have people in, I think, 15 states and 4 countries.
Wow.
It's kind
Oh
of
my
crazy.
gosh. How do you manage? I mean, payroll, what does that look like? I mean, how many things do you Wow.
Trisha hates us. Don't look at
Oh.
our payroll system because it's like the cobbler's shoes is true. When you get to it, our billing system and our payroll system forever were shambles. We just actually fixed our billing system. Before that, we were like, don't look at it. Don't tell anybody what to look at. Like, I was just like Trisha behind the scenes fixing everything. So
I love it. I love it.
we love
Probably
Trisha. So
true for all businesses, I think, or most businesses, where doing so many great things in the front and helping other businesses, but when it comes to what they have to do for themselves, that takes a back burner a lot of times, and you're like, we'll get to it. So,
yeah.
that's awesome. I happen to know this, just speaking to you, and also reading up on technology, and is very important to the business as well, to Acuity. Just if you were going to advise a small business, what kind of accounting and finance related technology would you tell them to get out of the gate?
Number one is you just pick between QuickBooks Online and Xero. And if you want an easy way to do it, if you're over 40, pick QuickBooks Online. If you're under 40, pick Xero. I haven't found a better way to do that.
I love that.
So but that's how people tend to fall. People like the UI differently. Xero has a more international feel if you care for it. And QuickBooks obviously is very US centric. But that's number one. Pick one of those 2 technologies. After that, you can, if you split the business and personal, you can connect your credit cards and banks to both of those platforms, and it just makes your accounting so much easier. It'll extend your life on a simple platform for a long time.
Yeah,
So.
I've never heard anybody explain how to pick between QuickBooks and Xero. That's in such a simple way, and now that I think about it, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've played in both, and I ended up, I'm over 40, so I went with QuickBooks Online for our business. But that's a very interesting. There was a time I just tried Xero, and it does take getting used to. It is different in the approach, and I think it was early on, so they didn't have all the integrations either that QuickBooks Online had and still has to this day. But great way to make a decision. I thought you were going to say flip a coin, but it's even better.
Nope, I actually have advice on that one. So.
That's very good. So there was a blog on your site that it kind of described, the best startup automation tools. What is your thought on automation, especially early on in a business, as and this particular blog was really about all the automation tools a business can use, including accounting. But should a business embrace automation right away, or especially if they're setting up their books for the first time, or is it better to maybe let things be a little manual so you understand what's happening? What is your thought on that?
Well, I mean, as soon as you automate, you can scale.
Okay.
So it's always a balancing act, right?
Yeah.
So automation is really important for scaling.
Okay.
So having a scalable billing process or scalable, billing is the big one for especially some of the platforms that are out there. I mean, in e-com in particular, I would say you would do it earlier rather than later, right? Because you're trying, you don't want to be trying to figure out how to process every sale on the back end, right?
Right.
Luckily for e-com, there are great tools out there. They're great platforms and enable that, right? That help you build some of that stuff. But if it's going to slow you up, get out the duct tape and let's be a bootstrapper, right? Let's dig in.
Right.
You got to have a mix of a practical and a approach. There's no silver bullet on that answer. I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer for you on that one. There's no silver bullet, and that's what gets you guys to pay the big bucks when you run e-com companies. You know how to make those decisions. So.
Right, exactly. Well, okay, so and a lot of our our audience out there, they're using contractors or VAs or other, if they're using a platform like, let's say, Upwork to get a VA to help them. Obviously they're using payment systems within Upwork, but if they're doing it on their own and finding a contractor outside of this country, like, are there any good tools? I mean, I know of something like Payoneer and PayPal, but PayPal is very expensive. Are there any go-to financial software that you can use to pay internationally in a very easy manner?
The one we use most is one called Veeam, Canadian-based company. It's kind of cool that deals with most of the companies. Now, they don't do the HR compliance and stuff like that with contracts and stuff like that. There's a bunch of those popping up. There's like the international PEO kind of model. But that would be my number one, but PayPal usually is in a lot of the countries, unfortunately, it's just really different. I like Veeam because it has some controls and some permissioning that you can put in place where somebody can input the bill and then you can approve it and that kind of stuff. But
and I think that integrates with QuickBooks, if I'm not mistaken. QuickBooks both. Online. Yeah, both.
Veeam integrates with both. That's a really cool product for a totally different reason, but they have a part of their back end. They use some of the cryptocurrencies on the back end without exposing you to cryptocurrency risk to help. Like cross-border payments is one of the best use cases for cryptocurrencies. So they use that back end to be able to do some of those to avoid some of the banking fees and make it real cost affordable for most businesses. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. Speaking of cryptocurrency, I mean, how much, obviously the firm, Acuity's putting focus on this, but you personally, how do you keep up with all of it? How do you keep up with what's happening out there? It's a lot flying by 90 miles an hour.
Well, every client problem comes to me, right? Like that's hard on cryptocurrency, or we haven't done. So at scale, I get more at bats than a lot of people.
Okay.
So what we focus on at Acuity, also in all of our practices, there's really practical solutions. We don't get into the esoteric about what ifs or what we think the tax people are doing. You have a real problem. Like you've got to pay your employees in cryptocurrency, and I've got to figure out how to remit the taxes to the state governments and the U.S. government. So we have to hack a solution together to be able to keep you compliant, right? So we're like the chief hackers. So we will create a practical solution for an imperfect problem. It's not going to be ideal a lot of times because crypto's new.
Right.
But we have a process that we go through to kind of get you to the best answer possible that keeps you in line with the IRS number one, and then the rest of the regulatory. That's a crapshoot, but if you stay on the IRS's side, you stay out of some of the big problems. So
that's good. Do you personally invest in crypto as well? Do you find it interesting?
I personally have not.
Okay.
So I've just been exposed to it from a different perspective, and I've seen a lot of the good and the bad, and I've talked to a lot of economists about it for our clients about some of the nuances of it, and it's just starting at this point to mature into what I call an asset class that you could consider an alternative investment. It's just some nuances, but no, I haven't been a holder or a gambler on that. So
gambler's a good word right there. I like that. That's I think I did a little, and somebody who was giving me, a good friend who's giving me advice, he said, just put aside the amount of money that you're willing to lose. So just work with that. Don't work with anything else. If you can lose it, then but who knows? Who knows where it goes? It has gone nowhere at the moment. It is it is not its time at the moment. So maybe soon.
No, I think it's around to stay. I think it's a real thing. I don't know that means it's an investment for people.
Right.
So, I mean, it just, people need to be acknowledged that I think a lot of the cryptocurrencies are attempting to replicate, currencies. So like if you would invest in euros or yen, and that's your profile, you could look at some of the cryptocurrencies like that. If you invest in gold and things like that, like you might want to put a portion of that kind of asset class in Bitcoin. Like, after that, just remember, not all cryptos are the same thing. So some I do consider investments now, like along with gold. Like
Yeah.
Bitcoin in particular is kind of one I category as a store of value, like up there with gold.
Right.
But a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are trying to be currencies like USDC. Like nobody would
Right.
invest in that, right? It's logical.
Yeah.
But
Interesting. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. Well, it's fascinating, where it's going, and businesses embracing it. I think we had a contractor who out of this country wanted to get paid in in crypto. That was
Yep.
his angle. I'm like, wow, okay, I had not. That was a new one. I had not heard that one. I don't think we were able to pull it all together and make it happen, but it was still, it showed the sign of where things are going. That's going to be more and more prevalent for people to ask that question, pay me in crypto.
oh, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely, especially cross border. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a big deal.
Yeah,
So,
no, absolutely. Well, tell me, if you could for a moment, I always like to ask this question at the end, where in terms of if you were standing in front of an e-commerce entrepreneurship class and you're coming in as a special guest to talk about finance and accounting, what just one tip would you offer them that would just really, kick their business in high gear, whether it be to manage money better, do something? Is there anything that you would put out there, that one tip that would help them?
if I had to get it down to one,
Mhm.
there's a couple angles you go at this. I'm going to take the non sky is falling answer. Like normally I would say sales tax. Just don't screw up sales tax because if you're
Okay.
going to ever sell your company and stuff like that. But I'm going to go away from the sky is falling and I'll say pick 5 financial metrics to track
Okay.
and then refine that over time.
Okay.
Every 16 weeks. You can't fix what you measure what matters and you can't fix what you don't measure.
Right. Interesting.
So whatever those 5 things are with your business,
Mhm.
pick them. I have 5 I recommend people starting with: cash burn rate, revenue, customer acquisition costs, and usually it depends on the industry for the other one. But so there's 4 you could start with. LTV is one, lifetime value of customers is
Huge.
one that a lot of people, as they mature, add to
Yes.
the list. But start with 5. Don't do more than 5. Just you can, every dashboard I've seen gets way too busy. We limit people's dashboards to 10 items typically.
Okay.
But the 5 we recommend, and we ask them to pick 5. So that's a big thing. Just getting a cadence that tracks it, and then a real non-financial thing is have a group that you meet with on a week, like on at least a monthly basis to review those things,
Mhm.
whether that's inside your company or outside your company. I had to go outside my company to do it. I used a group called Entrepreneurs Organization, where I have some peers
Oh, okay.
that we set. We only pick 3 things that we track with each other, and they're like accountability partners.
Mm.
So pick your 5 things, get your accountability partner, do it monthly, and see what happens.
I love it. That's great. I sincerely appreciate that. I mean, that is a phenomenal tip. I mean, one, again, if you're scared of accounting, I mean, drill it down to 5, or finance, drill it down to 5 things. Beautiful. So easy to digest. And then the accountability side, using a peer or inside your company. Great advice. Thank you for that. That is going to help a lot. So let's not that we weren't talking about fun things, but let's maybe jump into some other fun things.
Okay.
These are our little rapid fire questions. What gets you excited to wake up and tackle the day each morning?
Right now, it's seeing what the Falcons do on their free agency. Like we're kind of rebuilding right now, so that's what does it. That's what does it. Most days, I'm kind of a big Falcons fan, so that's pretty fun.
I love
On
it.
the work side, to be serious, building stuff, just building stuff that's sustainable. So like,
Nice.
how can I make this process sustainable? How can I not make it contingent on me? How can I not make it contingent on the person doing it? Like, how does it work if you pull anybody out of it? So like, sustainability gears me up for more than anything. So
Wow, that's great. Great answer. Love it. And good luck on the Falcons. Hope
it's going to take a lot of luck this year. So
So when you get up in the morning after you've decided what actually is exciting you that day and making you work towards a goal, what's your drink of choice to get you going?
I have Dom Francisco's Hawaiian hazelnut coffee
Whoa.
K-Pod. So like I will pitch that one. So that's my first cup, and then I do a generic second cup of coffee from like
Wow.
the one of the Amazon kits. It's like just the average kit that comes. So I don't have a really discerning palate. But that Don Francisco Hawaiian hazelnut coffee, I recommend for everybody.
Man, we're going to put a link to that because nobody has ever come on. Everybody's come on and said, black coffee, or one guy said he does a bougie coffee with oat milk. And nobody's actually given a brand of coffee on the show. So
Well, I love
this
it.
is awesome.
I took it to our offsite one time, and our COO, she was like, "This is pretty good coffee. Like, I like this one. It's just looks like a."
All right, I'm going to get. I'm going to try it too because I know the brand. I didn't know that specific flavor.
And don't mess up like I did. You have to get the Hawaiian hazelnut, not the hazelnut. It's a
Oh,
totally different
geez.
flavor. It's kind of they have both. I'm like, oh my god! Like I was like, what am I doing this morning?
Wow, what do they put in the Hawaiian that's different than the regular hazel? Is it?
I don't know. Like I just know it tastes better to me. So.
Man, that is amazing. I love it. I love it. All right, so tell me, so if you do one job besides the one you're doing today, what would it be?
My job lets me do whatever I want, so it's kind of crazy.
Head office at the Atlanta Falcons?
No, yeah, I would do salary cap management for the Atlanta Falcons if I could do one job. But one job that I could actually make money at, I've started angel investing. So some kind of venture capital firm where I was helping source deals and build deals for people. So we have a little portfolio of angel investments going of clients and some accounting technologies right now. That's a hobby right now, but that would be something that would be fun to get paid for.
Nice. I love that. That's great. And that obviously helps other entrepreneurs out there looking to build big and great businesses. So we mentioned technology. What SaaS software or app on your phone can you not live without? One that's got to be there all the time.
Oh, it's a new one. It's this is for a work one that I've converted to my personal one. But Process Street.
Yes,
Process.st.
Yeah, I know that one.
So it's how we're doing the no code, like it's enabling some of the no code stuff we're doing at work.
Okay.
But what it does for me is I told you my EO group. We come up with habits that we're trying to improve. So I have 10 weekly items that come up that I'm trying to do every week. And then I have about 10 monthly items that I try to do every month. And it comes up on my phone and I put it next to the Facebook app. So instead of going to Facebook or one of the stupid apps that I do waste time on, I go to it and make sure I've done the 10 things I've said I wanted to do that week and I check it off.
Oh,
and then it's like, and I did that when I was trying to get some physical health stuff going. So I was like, okay, did you lift weights this week? Did you walk this week? Like, did you, and then the monthly one is like, did you call your mom? Did you call your dad? Did you call your son? Did you
that's great.
So that one is hard to live without. It's like a habit. We read Atomic Habits as a team.
Oh, yes.
Anybody who's looking to start a little bit of change, this little, what they say, you create triggers. So I put it next to the time wasters on my phone. So I go to it first instead of the time waster. And then I look at what are the things I wanted to do this week. And then like I say, with the 5 things, you just have to change it. And it allows you to change it and iterate as you go forward. Because the first list you do is going to be a garbage list. It's going to be directionally correct, but you're going to have to modify it. So
I love that. That's great. We had somebody come on, and speaking of apps that make you waste time, he specifically deleted his email app off of his phone. Gone.
Yep.
And I followed suit. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this. I'm 3 weeks into this experiment. There are days that not that my hands are shaking, but my mind is going like, I really would like to know what is going on in that world, and it's now getting into I feel liberated, that I don't have to worry about it. So, we do that. And that's a great process.st, and having that right next to the thing that might make you go in a different direction for the day.
Yeah.
So
I don't know that it's supposed to be used how I'm using it, but that I hack. I told you I'm a hack. I hack things together and make it a practical thing. So.
I love it. I love it. Well, so if you could give yourself one talent that you currently don't have, what would it be?
One talent. Oh man, I'm so good at so many things. Humility.
Yes, maybe so. I like it. That's
I
good.
think humility. If I could have some kind of talent, it would be humility because I think I'd drive my wife crazy sometimes with a little bit of the ego stuff that I have going on. So I'm going to go with humility. So.
I love it. Okay, very good. That's the first on the show. Very nice. And lastly, what's your favorite online store and why?
My favorite online store?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a terrible one. Since it's an e-com episode, I'm going to go with an e-com answer.
Yeah.
Grubbly Farms.
Grubbly Farms. Okay.
So they are an online store that sends you like good chicken feed to your house.
Oh, yes.
And they have chicken snacks too. So that is a much better answer than saying Amazon. So I'm going to go with Grubbly Farms. Shout out to the Grubbly Farms guys. That's an Atlanta-based company.
Nice. All right.
And if you have a chicken coop, check them out. They got chicken treats and chicken feed, and great group.
I see. This is why I love e-commerce. I mean, that's so unique, right? I mean, obviously it already existed prior to e-commerce, but now they're leveraging, taking that channel on and getting the product to you quickly. That's fantastic. We'll put a link in the show notes too. So others with chickens, even if they have 1 or 2, not 11, can do their thing. So that wraps up, Matthew. This has been phenomenal. I mean, I'm gonna say this, that you made this a sexy podcast after all. You did it.
I did that when I got on camera, man. See?
Humility. Don't forget humility.
I need that. I told you.
No, it has been a pleasure. We love working with Acuity. You guys have been awesome to us. I feel confident in my books and making better decisions. And I appreciate you coming on here and that translation of complex topics is a must out there. Maybe you do a book one day. Maybe you do a movie. I don't know. It's such a good title. It's such a good title.
We got YouTube channels. So if you want to look stuff up and don't want to talk to people, you can always go to our YouTube channels. We got an e-com channel and a SaaS channel and
we will stick all those links in there. The blogs are interesting. Definitely sitting there, not only watching the podcast to learn about beer, but also learn about accounting at the same time. It's great. I love how you guys you make it fun. You really do. You really make it fun.
Thanks.
So take a minute. You mentioned we'll put links to all these things, but is there anything else in terms of where people can find out about you, find out about the business, URLs, anything you want to mention?
Sure. I mean, a business is acuity.co because we're too cheap to buy the M at the end. So acuity.co for all your bookkeeping, accounting needs. And the tech CPA is me on all the socials. So Twitter, LinkedIn, and those fun stuff. If you want to connect, we're more than happy to do it. So our e-com team is the best. Patty Scharf and Scott Scharf, they built this phenomenal program. And that's what you'll see on the YouTube channel. So you don't have to put up with my crap if you go to the Catching Clouds Academy YouTube channel. It's all the e-com stuff you'll ever need. So.
Well, I love it, but they should talk to you because it's fun talking to you, and you were gracious enough to talk to me like when we first started with you guys. I think you took a call. I don't know. We were a week into it, a week into our relationship, and you took a phone call. So I appreciate that, and they should reach out to you and just pick your brain. I think you've got you can translate for them everything they need. Yes.
Yep. We get lots of at-bats, so we have an unfair advantage. We get to see it across 750 companies. So if we haven't seen it, most people haven't. So
I love it. So, all right, that brings us to the end of another episode of the E-commerce Revolution podcast. Don't forget to check out our past episodes. This has been a great episode. Matthew's been you brought a ton of information, so thank you very, very much for your time today. Make sure to subscribe, as we always ask, to our YouTube channel. If I hadn't already mentioned that, you can check us out on LinkedIn. And if you need any help with your email and SMS, which is what we specialize in, definitely reach out to us at hello@skuagency.com and mention the podcast, and we'll hook you up with a free 45-point audit to help you make more money in the world of e-commerce. And then Acuity will help you figure out what to do with that money, where it is, and make your life a lot easier. So thank you very much, everybody. See ya.
This is just the beginning.
If you enjoyed this episode of the E-commerce Revolution podcast, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube or drop us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you very much.